Right then, I'm going to use the energy that all of those leaked fights just gave me and talk about Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje in the main event of UFC 274 this weekend for the Lightweight World Championships. I'm energized. I'm ready for my prediction video. It's an amazing matchup in the lightweight division. Justin Gaethje not the most deserving of contenders, but in terms of all of the contenders right now that you could choose between, it's between him and Makhachev's coming off a win against Bobby Green. If Makhachev would have beaten Beneil Dariush, I think there'd be more of an outrage, but Justin Gaethje coming off a big win against Michael Chandler, who, let's not forget, was doing extremely well against Charles Oliveira before getting finished in the second round. So Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira is a massive matchup in the lightweight division. There's a lot of legacy on the line here because it is the Lightweight World Championships, one of the most pound-for-pound esteemed titles in the entire promotion. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going with Charles Oliveira. I like Justin Gaethje's chances so much. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying stuff like this. Gaethje has less of a chance than Dustin Poirier, and the odds kind of agree with that statement as well. So I get it. But, although maybe Gaethje has less of a chance than Oliveira in terms of odds and in terms of percentages of winning and stuff like that, and maybe Gaethje doesn't have the jiu-jitsu that Poirier does, so if it does end up on the ground, then Gaethje's going to be in way more trouble than Poirier ever was, and Poirier still got submitted by a rear naked choke in the third. Gaethje's got more of a chance within the fight to end it early. Poirier has got power in his hands, but Gaethje's got more of that one-punch finish a fight out of nowhere kind of power. And that's going to be the power that's going to make a difference against a guy like Charles Oliveira. Now, Oliveira has been chinned a couple of times before in his career. He's been knocked down in his last title fight against Dustin Poirier. I know Gaethje's been wobbled a bunch of times as well, but still, Oliveira does get knocked down in his title fights. I just know at some point in this wild scrap that it's going to be, Gaethje's going to end up on the ground. And fair play, he might get right back up. But what happens after that is a big deal to me. Does Oliveira jump right on his back? I think he has such a massive vulnerability in his game. And he knows he has that vulnerability in his game as well. So it's not just that Oliveira knows that he's got that in his back pocket. It's that Gaethje knows, while he's striking with Oliveira, that Oliveira's not worried about Gaethje shooting a takedown. Gaethje's worried about him shooting a takedown. And I think, like against Khabib, Gaethje's going to be hunching over. Is it coming now? Am I allowed to throw right now? Am I allowed to land these punches right now? And when he does that, he doesn't seem to have the same kind of power that he did against a guy like Donald Cerrone, where he was just able to let loose because there's not really much of a offensive grappling threat from Cerrone that he really has to worry about, especially with his credentials. And there also isn't much of a threat with Tony Ferguson either, in hindsight, because even though Ferguson had good jiu-jitsu, it was mainly from hurting people and putting them in subs, rather than him taking them down, picking them up, slamming them and stuff like that, like Khabib usually does to his opponents. Ferguson had a defensive jiu-jitsu game, even against guys like Kevin Lee and stuff. So even in that fight, Gaethje was well aware he didn't have to worry about any kind of takedowns. Even in the James Vick fight, I think Gaethje again was very aware that he doesn't have to worry about any kind of takedowns there. But when he does have to worry about the idea of one, like a Michael Chandler contest, an Eddie Alvarez contest, and some other ones along those lines, that's when we see Gaethje's power start to diminish a little bit. That's when we see those fights start to get way more competitive on the feet. That's when Gaethje's finishing ability goes way down. Let's not forget Alvarez did finish him. Gaethje's had his own KO losses within his career that have been quite bad. Alvarez even got his back at one moment in that scrap and took him down. If you'll remember, I believe it was in the late second or third round. I don't think this fight even gets to those kinds of rounds, but either way, Alvarez got his back at one point, took him down. I know the new Gaethje is better and the new Gaethje is better, but this is the new Oliveira. And we're in the Olive era. Okay? I think this guy's going to reign as champ for a very long time, because there's one thing that separates a lot of the champions from a lot of the contenders right now. It's options. Options on how they want to win. Other than Israel Adesanya, because middleweight's one of the least skilled divisions that we've ever seen at this point, most of the champs, and Ngannou's probably leaving the UFC soon, so you've got the up-and-comers at heavyweight like Aspinall, Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane's there as well, I do understand, but we've also got Stipe Miocic, John Jones coming up. The options seemed to be the sort of favour. Aljamain Sterling getting it done against Petr Yan. I know a lot of people disagree with that decision, but it's fact. Aljamain Sterling won that fight. I said it as soon as it happened. Aljo won the fight against Yan because he had options. Yan couldn't unload the way he wanted to on the feet because all it would take from Aljo was one moment of a takedown that Yan even stuffed to where Aljo can then pounce on his back, get the body lock, and ride out the rest of the round doing damage from there. The featherweight division, options. Alexander Volkanovski, it's the reason he beat Holloway. In a strictly kickboxing matchup, I wouldn't have minded Holloway in those matchups, but because of the threat of the takedown and the fact that Volkanovski can go for those kind of things, it separates it. Even with Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, the fact that Holloway was the one with the option to take things to the ground was a massive difference in that fight. And I think Oliveira is the same thing. Usman at welterweight, he has those options against his opponents. Oh, it's Masvidal. I'm going to mix in takedowns, take him down. I'm going to hold him against the cage in the first fight. Oh, it's Gilbert Burns. I'm going to not go to the ground. I'm going to stand up the entire time. And I've got great enough wrestling defense to not get it to the ground. These guys with well-rounded games are a lot more championship worthy, it seems, over the past couple of years of the sport. And I think that's the difference maker. I really do, and I think Oliveira just having that mix of a threat for Justin Gaethje to worry about is going to make his stand-up worse. It's going to make him not want to commit to his power as much. And Gaethje is a bit basic, so if Oliveira does know what to read for, Gaethje does just throw check hooks, rear hooks, uppercuts, and leg kicks. Like, there's not many straight shots that he has to worry about, and that's kind of what really did damage to him against Dustin Poirier. Sure, he got hit by some hooks, but it was Poirier sticking the 1-2 out there, snapping back the head of Charles Oliveira a couple of times in his career, a couple of times within that fight, should I say. And I think with Justin Gaethje, Oliveira is just going to be able to keep things at range, front kick to the body, spinning back kick to the body, jabs, use those sort of long-range techniques. Now, Gaethje is going to have a very good chance, but Oliveira does keep his chin tucked very, very well. Could I see Gaethje getting a KO? There is a world where he can, and it's a very likely scenario. I'd put it at about 40% chances of happening. Oliveira can KO Justin Gaethje, guys. Oliveira has heat in his hands. And if the Michael Chandler fight didn't prove that, I don't know what does. Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje went to war for a round. Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira went to war for a round. In round 2, Gaethje hit Chandler, and Chandler still had it within himself to survive that round, do well in the second round, and even have a good start to the third round as well before Gaethje took over towards the end, and the damage was too much for Michael Chandler. When Oliveira caught Chandler, there was no, oh God, I can get back into this if I grit down and pull my bootstraps up and adopt another black child. Like, there was just, Oliveira was finishing him, and Chandler knew it. Oh, I have to run. I have to run away from this man. I haven't been hit like that in a while. And it didn't even look like more of a loaded up shot than Gaethje's uppercut. Like, Charles Oliveira's got heat in his hands. He's rocked many opponents. He hurt Poirier to the body. I can see him maybe when he's in close using that single collar and blasting some knees. But I don't really want to see that from him, if I'm honest with you guys. I want to see the front kicks at range. Some of the stuff that he used against Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson on the feet. More rangy opponents than Justin Gaethje, who does all of his work on the inside. Because I do believe if Oliveira does go for that single collar approach, even if he is blasting knees to the body on Gaethje, Gaethje's a tough man, and tough men don't really go down to body shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's sort of what they pride themselves on, being able to take those shots to the body, wing shots back. And I think if he does use that single collar knee technique that he was using against Dustin Poirier, Gaethje probably will catch him and put him away, or at least drop him. But then again, if he does, the problem is Oliveira's not a guy you can just jump on and finish. You know what I mean? You can't just, I'm going to jump on him now and get him out of there, because that's when he does his best work. When he gets knocked down, he's almost begging for someone to follow him to the ground. So his opponent has to, like, look at him on the ground for a bit, leg kick him a couple of times on the ground, and then sort of separate until the referee to come in. And that's like a 10-second timer for Oliveira to get back on his feet and have another chance at a takedown that might go badly for Gaethje. Another chance at a front kick to the body. Another chance with the hands as well. So maybe Gaethje does get this one done. But I think the options are there for Oliveira. And I think if he gets a takedown and Gaethje stuffs it, fair enough, he'll stuff it. But what we saw against Khabib is, though, even though Gaethje stuffed the initial takedown, he then gave his back to get back up to his feet. You know what I mean? And I don't think Oliveira is going to be going for a big pickup slam like Michael Chandler was, trying to please the crowd more than he was trying to win the fight against Gaethje, I felt like at some times. If Oliveira gets a takedown, Gaethje stuffs it, he's going to have to turn his back, and that's when Oliveira is going to pounce. And even if Oliveira backs him up against a cage and shoots, Gaethje might stuff it, but Oliveira is then going to have control of the back, body lock position, go for a sweep, try and put one hook in against a cage, go for two hooks. I just think there's too many options for Charles Oliveira, and the thought of those options is going to make Justin Gaethje a worse fighter like he was against Khabib. I brought up this example in the full card predictions. People said Khabib looked the best he's ever looked against Justin Gaethje. I think he looked the worst. He had a broken toe. He had months in the build-up to the fight. Months, not months of build-up. He had months, like face-altering disease in the build-up to that fight against Justin Gaethje. He missed weight for that fight as well. Cheated on the scales. That's how bad that weight cut was for him. And yet still he went out there, walked down Gaethje. And the threat of the takedown was so much to where the power came off. Gaethje wasn't as threatening on the feet. Khabib even outlanded him numbers-wise on the feet as well. And whenever it did get to the ground, Khabib struggled with Poirier on the ground. I know people say he wanted to beat up McGregor. Fair play, maybe. But even in that first round, Khabib did not really pass guard on Conor McGregor. Barely passed guard. And even if he did, he didn't get what he wanted from those positions either. Against Justin Gaethje, Khabib passed over his guard like nothing. Like nothing. Straight over the legs. Inverted triangle from mounts. Roll him over. Tap him out. Like it was just easiness to him. I can't see that if you're going to be coming up against Charles Oliveira and mentally going into this matchup, aside from all the things I've just mentioned. Oliveira's been there, done that. He's a defending champ. He beat the guy that beat Gaethje. He's the top man. He doesn't have a loss to Khabib looming over him to let him know that even if he's the champ, he's still not the best in the world because Khabib beat him. Justin Gaethje failed his attempt at a championship. Okay? He knows Oliveira's trying to go for takedowns. It's his big moment. His whole family's in the crowd. His whole family. He goes to the barbershop. I've got big money on you, Gaethje. Saw it in the Embedded episode. I've got more on me. Ha ha ha. You know what I mean? Like, it's a worry. Home state, sorry. Arizona. Whole crowd. Gaethje. Gaethje. His big moment in the crowd. Everyone he knows. I doubt Oliveira's bringing his family. He might be. He might be bringing his family. But still, like, it's a covert ops mission. Behind enemy lines. I'm the champ. I'll go to his state and do it. I've been here before. I've done my defenses. And it's all on the line for Gaethje in front of everyone he knows. All the people that went to his school. All the people he grew up with. And the worry of the takedown. I just think it's going to be too much for him. He's going to shell up, get hit a couple of times, wobbled. Oliveira's going to get scrappy with him. Shoot, take the back. One hook in, two hooks in. They'll end up on the ground. Gaethje will like try and dunk him backwards the way Chandler did, but it won't work out the same way. Oliveira will put in the rear naked choke. Finish off Gaethje in round one by rear naked choke, I think. After Gaethje semi-stuffs a takedown, Oliveira will get dominant position on the back. Latch onto it like a fucking spider monkey. And put him away. Happened in round 3 against Poirier. Poirier stuffed the takedown. Sure, people are looking at that and saying this is what Gaethje's going to do. But then what happened afterwards? They were against a cage. Oliveira gets one hook in, pushes Poirier away from the cage and gets the other hook in and gets him out of there. So yeah, I'm going with Oliveira. Rear naked choke. Thank you. And I hope he wins as well. There is a part of me that hopes he wins. Now, I do not mind Gaethje as champion. But I really kind of secretly do want... This isn't biasing my prediction in any way. I do really want to see a guy who hasn't lost so dominantly to Khabib be the champion of the lightweight division, to be honest with you. If Oliveira's the champ, it's like, could this guy have beaten Khabib? Is this guy a better lightweight than Khabib if he matches the defenses of Khabib? There's a question. He's not undefeated, though. If he beats Khabib's title defense record against better names, because I consider Chandler a better contender than Ally Quinter. If he does that, then there's like a question. Is this the new GOAT of lightweight? If Gaethje gets the belt, no matter what he does in terms of a title haul, no matter how many defenses he has, he could get 5 defenses of the lightweight world championship. Unheard of. Khabib beat him, though. All the comments. Is Gaethje the GOAT of lightweight? No, not after what Khabib did to him. Khabib dominated him. Khabib subbed him easy. There's just, I would really love for there not to be that shadow of Khabib over the lightweight division forever. And Makhachev's the only guy who can stop it. You know what I'm saying? And even then people say, well, Khabib's better than Makhachev though. You know, Makhachev lost. He ain't Khabib. I want an Olives. You know what I mean? But I do believe he's going to win anyway. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.